Hey everybody, welcome to Making Money with Guitars. And today, for the first time, I have someone who actually builds guitars. And it is Mr. Jacob Naylor of Naylor Guitars. Hello, Jacob.
Hello, how are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Bit of a speedy one this morning, but I'm not too bad.
Good. Well, I've asked you to jump on rather quickly. I was like, can you make it? When? Like, now. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me so spontaneously. I'll admit I don't know much about you, but I found you via Instagram. You came up on my feed somehow, probably through someone else that I follow. And I took a look at what you do, and I was impressed. So do you want to tell everybody what it is you do?
Okay, so Naylor Guitars, it's a relatively new, relatively young sort of company, but we make custom shop relic looking guitars, but for the same sort of price point as a Squier Classic vibe or, a Mexican Fender sort of vibe. But we make production guitars. So I make guitars that I think look really cool and sort of stuff that I'd want, but we also do custom orders. So you can, DM me on Instagram or ring me up and we can organize something where whatever pickups you'd like, something like that. If you want a 50s vibe, a 60s vibe, we can negotiate what sort of thing. So we basically just make, we try to make our whole point is sort of affordable custom guitars because a lot of the custom shop stuff is just absolutely wildly expensive.
Oh, you said the company's young. How long have you been operating?
We've probably only been from about the start of this year, but it's not been a massively long. We've not been around very long.
And is it just you? Because you say we. It sounds like there's somebody else involved.
It is just me, but I do get people that I know sort of involved in it a lot of the time. The work that you do it's not. It depends what area. A lot of people who make guitars will know you spend a lot of time sanding, and me spending 3 hours in the morning sanding, I could probably maybe use my time a little bit more effectively. But that is part of it. I think that's part and parcel of it, and part of being part of it. But I normally say we because I like to think of. Because I get a lot of advice from a lot of the people I know and the musicians I know. But it is just me basically primarily making them.
Yeah, I can't say we because it's very clearly just me in front of this camera. But there is a we in my household, and certainly I'm not at the top of that. But yeah, it's good. It's a good thing for the business and say we, and also to use the royal we. It gives it, at least in my heart, a little bit more realism, a bit more. Yeah. Professionalism. No, I was just wondering, but I don't want to delve too much into many business secrets because that's not fair. But the reason I do this show is to show to people that are watching that maybe they're thinking of taking a career somehow involved in guitar, be it playing, be it writing, be it building guitars from scratch, or doing what you're doing. So I want to get the feeling of how you started and why you started and how it's going, because it seems to be going very well.
Yeah, I think. Well, I've always been very much. I've never had the money to have custom shop guitars. Part of being young, going to uni, and being in a position where I haven't got the money to buy one. So why don't I make one that I've got a little bit better, or why don't I, put some brand new pickups in it, or put some new hardware on it, change the tuners. I've always been very, wanted to work it with my hands and wanted to change stuff. And I think it changed when I made the first ever Naylor guitar, which I have.
Oh, great.
Which I can show you.
Yes, please.
Which I rooted it out. So this is the Naylor Guitars White Snake, it's called, with the Naylor logo right in the middle of one of the string trees. But basically, this is the first one I ever made. It's got Squier hardware, single humbucker. It's got a really nice Wilkinson trem. But this is my guitar. But it's kind of rubbish, and there's kind of a few things about it that I'd change. But the basis of it is it's a mischief maker, so it's a Strat with a telly neck, relatively chunky neck, brass nut. But I did it, and I really, really enjoyed making it.
So what did it start off as?
It started off as a pretty rubbish Strat copy, but the body was a really nice. I think it was. You don't find them very often, but it was two piece, and I think it was older, or it was probably definitely older because it was so light. Mm-hmm. And one of the images, the pictures of a few pictures I took when I was making it were on I put on my Instagram. I just really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, that guitar probably only owes me maybe 100 quid. And I really enjoyed making it. And I thought, and then a friend of mine was like, could you make one for me? And I thought maybe this could be a little thing. And obviously, because I think lockdown was sort of pending and I had a bit of time because I've just finished my teacher qualification. So I had a little bit of time at half term to put some time into it. And that took me a while because I didn't really have the time. But now lockdown's come in and I haven't got any time. Well, I've got no time. I mean, very little time at work and a lot of time at home. I could invest more time into stuff. So I started Naylor Guitars with the idea that I could make something like that. You know, I like the relic guitars and I like the custom shop thing, but I can make it with a little bit of something different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds great. And so a very young company, but are you doing well in terms of sales, or are you doing well in terms of interest?
Well, the big part of it, our biggest, I say the Royal Hour again, our biggest part of, our biggest help has been the Instagram page.
Yes.
And we get a lot of inquiries and we get a lot of messages, and some of them are, admittedly are a little bit time wastery. They just want to know how much it is. And, but it's really, I really like, and a lot of people have messaged me. I get a lot of messages on it and I really do enjoy replying to people, even if it's something like, I'm doing this project. I've always wanted to make a guitar. What do you think I should do about this? Should I do this or this? And I've talked to people across the world, talked to people in America, talked to people in the Netherlands. And I'm really interested in what they're doing because it's something that I'm learning about as well as they're learning about. And I'm just trying to spread the knowledge a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in terms of orders, I'm normally working on about 2 guitars a week.
Wow.
And that pretty much, and sometimes less, sometimes more, but I try to get them out, I'll say about 3 weeks minimum, something like that. So it does take quite a while. And a lot of that time is spent, nitrous cellulose takes a good few days to dry properly. So I got all that time potentially isn't spent all the time in the workshop. I do have other stuff that I need to get on with. But I've got the production guitars, they're going, but I think the point of that short run I did at the start was just to gauge, what sort of thing do people really like? Do people like the Mischief Maker thing? Do people just want a Telecaster? Do people want new old stock? Do people want really heavy relics? And I think I tried to do a range of that sort of thing. I tried to do, there's really heavy relic stuff, there's Mischief Makers, there's Telecasters, there's Stratocaster copies. And I think I'm finding more and more stuff that's selling, the sort of stuff that isn't selling. I think, you've got to experiment. I think that's the big part of being a young company. You've got to just experiment and do crazy stuff and figure out what you can get. The craziest thing I did was one of the tiny Strat copies, which is, so the big one, which is the Strat body with the teleneck, is called the Mischief Maker, and this is the Troublemaker. So this is like the little brother guitar, little sister guitar to the guitars I make. And the point of that was I'm trying to offer something that's slightly different to the sort of thing you'd usually get. So I'm trying to offer a little extra that might mean that one day you come back and you buy from me again. So like you buy your guitar, your Seafoam Green over Sunburst guitar, heavy relic, and you get for an extra 110, 130 quid, you get your little Troublemaker to go with it. And you can have give that to your son or give that to your daughter. Something like that.
Clever, a little upsell.
That sort of thing. It's just a little, and it's the little extras, and it's things to just put that Naylor Guitars logo in your house somewhere, even if that goes on the wall. Someone asks, "What's that?" And it's there. And at the minute, we've just teamed up with NIM Designs, which basically I'm trying to make a little print to go, and it's in the same design as all my guitars. A little print to go in the case, a little bit of case candy, and you little frame print printed on nice paper, looks really cool, but with a little design in it that goes somewhere else that reminds you of the guitar that you've got. So I've just started doing that, and that's at no charge to the extra charge on the guitar. That's just something to go in there, just a little bit of something extra. I think that's an important part. Having something. Don't reinvent the wheel. I'm under no illusion that my guitars are going to be, challenging Fender custom shops in terms of, to all intents and purposes, you do get what you pay for. The rule of diminishing returns, admittedly, does change that. But I'm trying to have a little bit of something different, a little bit of something, a little bit something that you can't get from anyone else. I think that's the point. That's what I'm trying to do.
Sure. It certainly sounds like when you buy, for example, a Fender custom shop, you are spending a lot of money, but you're also buying into the Fender name, and therefore that's another reason why it's expensive, etc., etc. You're buying into the history. So if you're not, if a company doesn't have that history and that reputation, that authenticity, then you need to be doing something else, which is quite clear. And you seem to have cottoned onto that, and that's what you're offering.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really a friendly service.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is I always say, whenever I take an order, especially a custom order, I always say, I'd like to have a conversation on the phone with you, because I understand that on Instagram, you just found me on Instagram, I've got 1,500 followers, and you don't want to just send your money to someone who you've never met, you've
Absolutely.
never seen. There's a little video of me on there, a little video of me playing. There's a few posts. So I always have a phone call and we'll just chat about guitars for a bit. And I think that's the big part. And you show that you're really interested in the guitar that you're making for someone, or the guitar that you're putting together for someone, and you just show that you're interested in it and show that interest. And I think a really big part of what I do is I'll send you updates and be bothering you like all the time about, oh yeah, I've got some coats of clear on today. That should be exciting. I'm going to put the pickups together later on. I think watching it come together and having it like a pic, and I always send you pictures of what I'm doing. I think I like to think of it as a very personal service and a very, it's like interactive thing. So there's a guitar I've just put up, that a lad called Dylan had, which was a 90s Squire Strat that had a go at relicing, and it wasn't a.
I'm going to have a look while you're talking, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Is it the black one?
It's the one before that. He's very handsome mug, getting me plenty of likes on Instagram.
Oh, the white one that's turned into like a Daphne blue.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, yeah. So I'm with you, and I'll overlay that on the screen if I may, so that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So. I showed him all the way through the process, and he was great back with messages, and it was really nice to do it with him, because it was like making a guitar with him, and he'd owned it for a while and he loves the guitar, but it was always never quite sounded how he wanted it, and it didn't really fill the spot, because guitar hoarders like me, they have a lot of different spots to fill. So as I was doing it, I was like, do you want the relic a little bit heavy here? What do you want me to do with the fingerboard? I know you love the neck. What do you want me to do with the tuners? Do you want me to, change how I've relic the back, or do a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter? It's up to you. And I think that was a really big help with that. And that's why that project went really well, is because I was able to, go back and forth and design it with him. And I think being collaborative like that, especially on someone's guitar, which is it's a little bit of pressure in terms of what you're doing, because fixing guitars, as anyone knows, you just fix guitars. And if you love guitars, you love all your guitars as much as I love all my guitars. I wouldn't want anyone else touching them unless they knew what they were doing, or unless they knew what I wanted out of them.
Yeah, it's great that you're really getting in there. A question I have is, at which point does the workload become too much? So you say you have a lot of free time at the moment, and I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
How many hours you put in per guitar, including all that sort of communication. I know there's not a number. I know it differs, but I'm just intrigued as to, because running this channel, it's not just people watching a video and therefore it's 10 minutes of work on a 10-minute video, as you know.
Yeah.
Most of the work is behind the scenes, and sometimes I dug myself into a position where I could not create the content quickly enough. So I was bring out videos that were too time consuming. Is that anything ever you've had to deal with, or is it okay at the moment?
I think, obviously being a relatively small company, I don't get a lot, but I do have a limit of the amount of guitars I'm allowed to do at once. I don't really ever want to be working on any more than 3 guitars at one time. Mainly because I don't think I can deliver a consistent enough, a good enough product.
Yeah.
With that many in there, I've got a very small workshop. I have a little thing on the back of the garage, and I can't give enough attention to each guitar, and enough, because relicing a guitar, and a lot of people do it differently. A lot of people do it in a different way, but I need to be, in the headspace and have room and be able to, get to all the tools that I need and everything. And I can't do a good enough job with, 5 guitars in there.
Sure.
But I think a big thing for a small company, just pace yourself. Only, don't rush and accept everything that you get, because you'll end up with a guitar and you won't be happy with it. And I've done it before. I hold my hands up, and I've had guitars before where I've been like, that's not good enough, and I've had to do it again, and I've had to message and say, I'm sorry, but this is going to take a bit longer. And I've turned things down when I had room for it, I had time for it, but it just wasn't something that I'd be able to do at a good enough level.
That's good. That's refreshing to hear, because obviously the very basis of having a company is you need to have income. I'm similar in the sense that I don't demo everything that I'm sent, or don't accept every invitation. But on the other side of that, I am always looking for work. You don't turn things down because you don't fancy it that day. But also, it's nice to know that you're telling us that you've turned stuff down because you didn't feel it appealed to you at that time, and that's really cool. So it's also the sign of a well thought out business, because if you can turn down work, then you must be doing well enough. Yeah. What I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to avoid saying, is that in the past I've done stuff that I hated, not with this YouTube channel, but with other musical things and songwriting and gigs and stuff, and it's so nice to be in a position at the moment in which I don't have to do that.
I think, it's what you want to put out into the world, isn't it? It's what I want my image. I mean, a small company, the last thing you want is a load of negative things about you. And having, I'm at the minute, I'm trying to get as much out of the Instagram as I can, but I'm not going to push something that I don't believe in, I'm not happy with. I think it'd be easy to accept everything and do a sort of not as good a job, but I prefer to have prefer to have your integrity, don't you? It's something that I can stand behind my product and say, this is as good as I can do. This is my 100%, it's 100% best effort and best work that I can do. And I think that makes me better at marketing myself and better at pushing myself, because I'm happy with it. You can scrutinize, my guitars that I've made, and I'll stand by them.
I'm really enjoying this conversation, Jacob, because, and I mean no negativity in this, but you seem rather green, in the world, but in a good way, in the sense that you have this vitality and this energy and these values that can sometimes get lost a little bit when someone's got a bit long in the tooth, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I absolutely know, you know what you're talking about. You've set yourself these core values. You have a business model of what you've described already. But you have this energy about you that says that you're still very much in the beginning of your hopefully long journey. Is that something that you would agree with, or you continue to do so?
I'd like to think that I'm really glad to hear that that's the idea that you get, and I think that one of the biggest parts of this is that I love guitars, love guitar music, love making guitars, messing around with my own guitars. At the minute, I'm making, there's loads of stuff that I'm doing at the minute. And I think that excitement is the thing that will drive me onwards and onwards. And I mean, I'm under no illusion that I'm this mogul that knows everything about doing guitars and I'm going to do everything right the first time. I won't. And I'm at the minute, I'm making a oak body Telecaster, and it's hard. I'm struggling with it. There's a lot of stuff, and I get really annoyed. And, there's a lot of things been frisbeed out of my workshop because, that's just not right. The other day, I have a little fold-out workbench that I was sanding stuff on because I had to do it outside, and it just snapped straight through.
Oh no!
I nearly followed it down the stairs. I was like, it's just sometimes you just got to say no. But I mean, that's just me being, maybe me being a little bit. A little bit new to it, and not having the right tools and having to get some new tools. But sometimes you just got to, you get the good with the bad, don't you?
Absolutely. I've only ever really learned from making mistakes or breaking something and having to fix it myself. So I think you and I are very similar in that sense, where willing to take risks, but with a little bit of knowledge, but you're still going to make mistakes. Yeah, but definitely. It's important that you're owning up to those mistakes, and therefore they're not really mistakes; they're just opportunities to learn.
Yeah,
and I know that rings true with me. It really resonates that to have someone who's so in tune with one's abilities, the worst thing you can do is have that imbalance between what you can do, what you're able to do, and what you think you're able to do.
Yeah.
You have to take a risk. You have to push that ability. But if someone doesn't, like as you've mentioned, the guy tried to relic his own guitar and didn't do a very good job of it. It's not as easy to do a convincing job as one might think.
Yeah.
And also setups and stuff. You can learn all this stuff. It's not difficult, but it requires time and experience and patience and learning. Yeah. And I think what you've done there is you've created a business where you're doing that for someone. So you're taking, just to talk about the parts caster kind of thing, you've set yourself a very clear niche price-wise. I haven't asked you about price, and I won't, but I'm I can take a guess. You're not going to be charging £3,000 in that area,
No. I'm happy to talk about price. If you want to talk about price, that's fine. I am proud of the price that I can do.
Let's go then. So we're talking Squier Classic Vibe sort of stuff, sort of level, which is damn good. I don't know the price on a Classic Vibe at the moment, but are you around? What's extra, and why should someone come to you rather than just buying something off the shelf?
Well, my guitars run from, the production guitars that I've done at the moment run from about 270 to 330 quid. So they're just production guitars. So they're Squier hardware, Squier pickups, or Wilkinson stuff. I quite like Wilkinson. Wilkinson do a lot of nice stuff. Mm-hmm. Vintage Fender style tuners. But a very easy guitar to take and say, you know what, I want some Charlotte tuners on it. So I want some proper Fender tuners on it. I want some, put it on there. That's all yours. They're made with the express intention. If you play the guitar for a while and you find, you know what, maybe I'll change it. Maybe I'll do something else with it. In the same way you do with a classic vibe. But you've already got a really cool, pink guitar with sunburst underneath that you can do whatever you want with. And I think, so a custom guitar is probably a similar sort of price range. But if you want a set of Fat 50s pickups in it, that's going to add about the same price as Fat 50s pickups in it. Mm-hmm. So I've got, customs can go anywhere up to about 500 quid, maybe a little bit more, depending on what you want. If you want a spec'd off the wall, 50 sounding guitar, then you're going to have to spend money on the parts. I think that's fair. And that's fair for any builder who do the same thing. I'm not going to, lie to you and say, yeah, these are, Fender 50s pickups when they're not. So I'm going to be transparent and say, these pickups are going to cost me this much. I'm going to transmit that to the person who's buying it, the customer.
Absolutely. Oh, that's good. So that the initial prices are shockingly low. Yeah. I've just looked at whilst you were just talking that a Classic Vibe is currently running at around £350. Yeah. Ish, depending on the year, and the Squier are doing some phenomenal stuff at the moment. So, where do you source your? So, where do you source your parts from in the first place? Do people come to you and you give them a finished guitar, or do they give you a guitar and you mod it, or how does it work?
So we do. We're pretty much open to. Obviously, at the minute, being a small company, we're open to a lot of stuff. And if you have a guitar that you think, I know this body's quite good. I got it off someone who swapped me for another guitar, but I don't really know what to do with it. Send me that body and I'll put a neck on it that you like. But I get a lot of stuff. I buy a lot of used parts, parts, guitars, bits that people have had and stuff that I'm not out there buying the cheapest guitar I can find. That wouldn't be fair. That's not. I'm buying parts that a lot of the necks are getting new. I don't really like using used necks. I aim for bodies that are not loads of pieces. I don't use any MDF casters, anything like that. I wouldn't sell a guitar that I wasn't happy with. Now, a lot of people struggle with the price. Potentially people have said that I'm sort of underselling what I do. And when I tell people how much they are, they say, how do you make them so cheap? And at the minute, I'm making guitars as cheap, not making as much money. I'm not making as much of a margin because I want a full Instagram with loads of guitars on it. Because I want to be able to push a product to say, this is what I've done so far. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to eventually when I'm at a point where I don't want to make parts casters forever, but with the resources I've got at the moment, that's what I'm going to be making. Eventually, I'll make my own bodies. I'll make my own necks. I want to make my own run of Naylor guitars and actually be, nail guitars with their own shapes. But I've got to pace myself. I can't afford a CNC machine right now. I can't afford, all the different stuff that you need to, I haven't got a big enough workshop to process all the stuff that you need to make, a guitar out of 3 pieces of wood.
So what you're doing is you're building a portfolio on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've just finished speaking recently to someone who's done the other thing, and they've spent a lot of money up front they had a completely different business model. So it's really interesting and really refreshing to know that there are so many ways to earn money with guitars, and that's why I'm doing this series. And do you have a dog?
No, my dad's just dropped some. I get loads of packages all the time, so I'm like, get out of here.
Normally I get dogs. That's the first dad I've had in a video.
Yeah,
it's dogs or kids.
Yeah, I've got the postman downstairs who keeps bringing me stuff up, so that's fine.
Sorry, I just, I like to see what's going on off camera. Yeah, it's refreshing to know that there are so many ways to make money with guitars, which is why this video series exists. And even when you break it down into, okay, that guy's a player, that guy's a YouTuber, that guy builds guitars, that guy builds parts. When you break it down to those subgenres, there's even further subgenres within those subgenres. Yep. So it's nice to see that you have a vision and you know what you're going to be doing at some point. I don't know if you've actually put a date on it, but using Instagram and using social media to build a portfolio, using customers to do it for you whilst making enough money to get by is a really cool way to do it, because you're building a company, you're building everything you're doing, you're building trust. Have you had any repeat customers yet?
So I am currently trying to persuade Dylan, who just bought a guitar. He really wants to do a Mustang project, and I've always wanted to do a Mustang project. So I think I'm sort of managing to persuade him. But I think he was really chuffed with it, and I'd be really glad to have another guitar from him. I haven't had any yet apart from him, but I'd like to think that I'm versatile enough as a builder, and provide a good enough product that people can come back and expect the same level of workmanship on everything.
Great. So, what do you think? What was the tipping point between when you had the idea to do what you're doing and then you started it? Was that a difficult decision? Was there a one day, or was it were you thinking over time?
I think it was. I think it was when I gave the Whitesnake the rubbish first guitar. I gave it to my mate, and he really liked it, and he wrote some music on it. And I was at that point where I was like, I love guitars, and I love when I get a new guitar, and I had enough money to push some money into that. By no means am I obviously I'm on PGC wages, so not massive amounts of money, teacher wages, but I had enough where I was like, I could make a limited run, a short run. But I think it was doing stuff on my own, and then just someone else saying like, yeah, that's good.
Right.
I've done that with music in the past. I've done that, with my own music. And I think it takes someone else saying, yeah, you can do it. You just got to, and then that gives you the impetus to go and like, let's go do it. Let's go push yourself a little bit further. And I think a lot of the free time I had, and I think a lot of people my age, I think a lot of people, of any age in lockdown have found that they've got time to push those, NIM designs that I'm working with. They're the same sort of thing as me. They've had time to sort of push those passions that they've got. And let's see if I can make some money out of something that I've got.
Yeah, this whole pandemic thing is, of course, terrible, and lives have been lost. But there is some positivity to come out of it, and one of those things is the extra time to work on your side hustles. I'm obviously extremely busy, and I thought that it would really almost die. I was panicking, but things have been very busy for me. And I'm lucky enough that, like you, it sounds like we have a passion, and we're willing to put our necks on the line and do something with it. Yeah. And it's wonderful to be in a position to do that. Firstly, I feel very lucky, very privileged to be able to work with guitars.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing about what you do? What's the hardest thing?
That's tough, to be honest. It's, I think, um, I think part of what we talked about earlier is a lot of the time you get a lot of messages and you get a lot of people that are really excited to do something, and you get equally excited. And, you get someone that messages you wants to do a really cool project, like, yeah, that sounds great. Just let me know whenever you want. And I think, and I know a lot of people get this, and I know a lot of people, anyone who's doing a business, the same sort of thing as mine, or otherwise, gets a lot of time wasted. It does get me down. I struggle with it because, like, when someone describes a guitar to you that they think's really cool, I want this and this, and I want it with this pickup, these pickups in it, I want this neck. Oh, that sounds great. I'll start looking at stuff and I start figuring out what parts I'm going to do and put a list together. And I've already made that in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've already thought, yeah, it's great. I'm really looking forward to doing the painting. I really want to do blue sparkle. And then nothing. You get nothing back from me. And it's annoying, but I understand. And I've done the same thing before with businesses, and because you think it's great, and then they say a number and you're like, yeah, you can do that. But then, I'll wait till when I get paid next week, I'll message you again. And then they don't get around to it, and then something else happens, and then you end up, I have the amount of projects I've followed through with versus the amount of projects that I've talked about is astronomically massive. So I think that gets me down, and I think partially I do get frustrated in the workshop, and I think that's partly because I enjoy it so much. But sometimes it is that thing where the thing that you wanted and the thing that you end up with, or the thing that you put lots of time into and it doesn't quite go right. Sometimes I just put stuff down and just leave and just take a day off and just have a minute because it gets really annoying. I've just done it at the minute, and there's a guitar body that I've got that I've started buffing it. So I've started taking it from spray guitar with clear coat onto a buffed shiny guitar. I'm there and I'm like, it's not good enough. I've done it all. I've sprayed it. You spend 2 days spraying it. You spend however long doing it, and it's not good enough. So I've got to now go outside and go and sort it out again. And I think a lot of the time you just need a day off and you just need some time. And I think, well, it's tough. It's hard. You could easily get demoralized doing stuff like that. You're like, send it back, have it, take the guitar, take it for free. I don't want it. I don't want to see it anymore. You know what I mean? So it is tough, but I do enjoy it. I think part of it is being resilient and being able to go back and say, you know what, the guitar's not going to beat me. I've sprayed seafoam green so many times. I refuse to be defeated by seafoam green again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to spray it again, take it back down, spray it again, buy some more paint. So I think a part of it is that. I think that's probably the toughest bit. Just having to just say, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to take a step back here, and that means that I won't make as much money in that guitar because I had to buy 2 more cans of nitrocellulose. Well, that's fine. That's part of it. I'm learning.
Yeah,
next time I won't do that whenever.
Exactly. You are you're your own apprentice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great that you have that recognition. Sorry that I was laughing so much, but I could recognize myself in that so much. But it's great that you have that recognition of when something's not good enough, and that should give, rather than say, "Oh, that guy doesn't know what he's doing," that gives me a sense of, okay, he does know what he's doing to a certain level, and he's maybe your ability is not quite where you want it to be yet, but you're not letting that stop you. So you're still getting the same results. It's just taking you longer. And that's exactly the same for me. And I would say anyone that starts something will not be good at it for a while. So it's the same with songwriting. It's the same with learning guitar. Guitar is hard. If you think back, I don't know how long you've been playing, but those first few, I don't know, months or possibly even years,
tip of your fingers going really hard and struggling with it and looking at chords, being like, how the heck am I going to play a B? What is going on? How are my fingers going to do it? I still really struggle with Bs. I'll be honest, I've been playing for a while. I've got, loads of guitars. I still play the bar chord down there. I struggle with it, and that's the same thing. Where I want to be with my guitar playing and where I want to be with my guitar building will always be 2 steps ahead of where I am at the moment. But I think that's a part of growing. I think it's a part of getting better and better, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think if it isn't that way, then surely you're not living your best life. You're not offering your best. If you're always saying this, if you ever say that's the best I will ever achieve in my life, then you're probably not aiming high enough. There are several projects I've done in my life that I think that's a real highlight, and I think, well, that's going to be hard to beat. but I always know that there's things that will beat it. And it may not be guitar related even, but it's very interesting that you look at it that way. May I ask how old you are? Because you've said people my age.
I'm 22.
Oh, come on.
I know.
I wasn't sure because the Zoom conversation is not great. And, you said you're a teacher. I thought, okay, I was going to go for mid-20s, but 22, mate.
I'm 22. I'm youthful. I've still got that youthful, sprightly.
Yeah, I hate you even more than I did a few minutes ago. My back's hurting just sitting in this chair.
Oh, dude, my back's just you craned over frets like 25 hours, isn't it? Oh, that's the biggest thing. You start building guitars. You've got to look after your back. You've got to look after your wrist and your fingers and your hands. The amount of times you cut yourself, and I've sprayed on my fingers. Yeah, I did. It's an awful idea, but I had a real bad accident last year when I was teaching. Well, when I was teaching at the same time, and I tried to cut. I had to cut a square piece of wood. I had to cut it across like that to make a wedge for a pedal board I was making. And my friend's pedal board, not even mine, my friend's pedal board. And I blame him completely. And with a tabletop circular saw. So the big rotating blade, you go down and across.
Yeah.
So looking back, I feel like a fool, but I wedged. It kept like popping out because it's not a big enough piece of wood and it wasn't clamped. So I wedged it with another piece of wood and it flew out across the roof. And I was like, well, if I just wedge it with a different piece of wood and I lean on it, then it'll be fine. Shot it in, it shot off, and I cut across my thumb, and you can't really make it out. But it cut across my cuticle, across my nail, and smashed my nail as it went through. Lovely sharp blade. I could send you some pictures if you want, but you don't.
Oh,
it's gonna be.
I'm good, thanks. I'm fine. I'm fine for disgusting photos.
Yeah. But you've got to. I think one of the things. You look back, you're like, why the heck would I do that? What a stupid thing to do. But in the moment, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wedge it. It'll be fine. And then you do it, and you make mistakes like that. But I think a lot of the stuff you work with guitar making is sharp, or it is hazardous, or it is make sure you don't electrocute yourself. Mains power. When you're soldering stuff and when you're earthing stuff, and you're gonna make mistakes like that. But hopefully, the mistake you make will come back. And it won't be too bad. I still can't really feel in the end because I cut my nerve, I think. But it's coming back, and I'll never make that mistake again.
I think you have learned a very important lesson there.
Oh,
and you got off lightly and all that sort of stuff.
So lucky, unbelievable.
But yeah, we do stupid things where it's. I hate to say it, but I think it might even be a man thing. I don't know if that's allowed to be said these days, but I think men are inherently stupid.
No, I get it. I think people do. I think it's the meme, isn't it, where men live longer. This is why women live longer than men. It's like a ladder on a ladder, up some stairs or something. But it's true, and I think obviously partly me being still quite youthful. And, being a little bit stupid and being a little bit like, yeah, let's get this done tonight and then I can give it in tomorrow and I'll get lacquer and, what do you do?
Well, I'm very glad you didn't cut your thumb off entirely.
That would make things very difficult.
I'm amazed. How you doing? Fine. One Thumb Guitars, that'd be a good name.
That'd be hard.
You never hold anything, but
I'd be a USB there.
How long did it take you to go back to a circular saw after that? Was it like straight back in, or
the next time I did it, I did it with this hand in my pocket, and I had 2 clamps. I was like, I will never make that mistake again, never again. I was making some clavers, and I was like, I'm gonna have to cut with the circular saw, with the scary circular saw. But I'm gonna put my hands in my pockets and I'm gonna stand a long distance away. And you get used to it. It's the same thing with rasps and the same thing with stuff in the workshop. You spend the day drilling, pick guard holes, and every time you clean the end of the drill bit with your finger, really fine, really sharp drill bit. You do it all day, and the next day you're like, oh, I've got loads of little grooves in my finger. That really hurts.
Yeah.
You didn't feel it at the time. And the same thing with the rasp. You hold the rasp with your hand and you look at your palm. You're like, oh, I've been all over the place, or, I mean, the thing that every guitar player does, and I'm sure you do the same thing, when you're stringing it up and you stab the high E in the tip of your finger, and nothing's ever hurt more than that. Nothing has ever, you just, you have to weep, you have to have a crouch down, you have to leave the guitar. I'm so annoyed I did that, and you can't get it out of your finger. It happens all the time. And
I think the worst one I've done is when is almost certainly a high E, and I cut it off the extra long bit that I didn't need, the string bit that was, I can't think of the extra string, and of course it went on the floor, and forgot about it, and then a few days later was walking and it went inside my toe like that. Ooh. And up in and just knowing instantly what I'd done. Yeah. Oh, such an idiot. And I even remember thinking, I should clear that up. No, I should finish this guitar. I'll clear that up later, knowing full well that I wouldn't. I paid the price. So
yeah, and you won't do it again, will you?
No, I absolutely didn't. Well, I can't say I won't do it again. I can say the few times after that, I cleared that piece up straight away. Yeah, and I haven't done it since. But I think it's a good metaphor for business, in the sense that, again, I'll say it again, you seem to be rather green, very, very passionate, but in a sort of youthful way. And I think you're learning important lessons rather quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think I'm a relatively quick learner. I like to think that I'm doing quite good, but someone could be naturally incredibly good at relicking guitars. Naturally just pick up, whatever tool they need, pick up anything and be like, yeah, I relic my guitar with a razor blade. I spent a couple of hours on it. I did it. It took me a while. It took me ages. It took me, ruining guitar bodies, ruining paint jobs I've done and needing to respray it. But that's part of it. And I enjoy it. I mean, it does get frustrating. It does get annoying, but you're not going to be, Monday morning, you can't relic guitars. Tuesday night, you can relic guitars like custom shops. And I still can't relic like custom shops. And relicing's hard. I mean, a lot of people say relicing's hard. And some people are better at it than others. And some people have a natural aptitude for it. Some people learn over time. And I'm still learning. And I'm not expecting to be able to do lacquer checking the same way everyone else does. And there's loads of different ways to do it. And there's a big thing at the minute, which is quite interesting. If lacquer checking should be done with a razor blade or should be done with cold and warm to actually get a crack, or actually change it. And it's really, really interesting. But obviously for everyone's, all my mates are like, can you stop talking about it now? I've had enough of lacquer checking.
You nerd! Shut up. Yeah, I feel you, mate. I feel you. I'm lucky to have a few guitar playing friends, but yeah, that conversation. I think my girlfriend said to me yesterday, you can stop talking about that now. And I was really enjoying saying those things about whatever I was talking about. But yeah, the poor woman, she gets it. Mate, I want to say thank you so much for talking to me. It's very clear that you have a lot of fun doing what you do. Yeah. And what you do is obviously a creative process. And I wish you all the best of luck. It sounds like you're having a great time. I'm really enjoying it, dude. I really am. Good. It makes me happy to meet someone with so much vitality. Yeah, it's so nice to talk to someone like you that sort of gets it, sort of has, that, you can tell that you've worked on it and you're constantly working on what you're doing. It's really nice to be able to talk to someone that in a different field altogether is just doing the same thing as me, it's always working on stuff. And I think that's everyone should be putting their energy, their spare energy, whatever they can do every time, putting themselves in and loving what they're doing. And I think, I might not ever do this full time. I might only ever do it part time, do it at the weekend, but I'm glad that this is what I get to do with my time. I think hopefully that's the same for you. Most days, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Some days you want to put the guitar. Sometimes I'm stupid enough to forget how lucky I am, but when I do remember, which is most of the time, I love what I do. And part of the thing, my favorite thing is to talk to people like you. So again, it's a pleasure. And what's the best place to find you, Jacob? Is it Instagram? The best place is on Instagram. We're in the process of hopefully starting to develop a website soon. But for now, the best place to find me is on Instagram. DM me. My DMs are pretty much always open. I reply when I can. We don't really do working hours. It's all through me. So if I'm around, I reply as quick as I can. Thank you, mate. There's links underneath the video description for all that stuff. I'll even put one on screen for you right now. Add a little bit of extra work just to my day.
Just give you some work to do.
Just because I bought a pack of lower third video overlays and I want to use them,
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, mate. Best of luck, and I will be following your journey and I hope that you're doing well.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Speak to you soon.
See you later.